So at the beginning, we were pretty clearly on what key?
C major.
Good. And then when I stopped you, what key did we move into?
Wandered over to F.
Yeah, we wandered over to that, right? So how are C and F related?
It's a fourth.
Yeah, it's a fourth chord. So pretty common interval that we play, fourths and fifths, right? All right, so at the very beginning it scales and then lots of arpeggios, right? So as clarinetists, that's all we practice all day, right? Scales and arpeggios, so something that we're really used to. One thing I do want to talk about is sort of the organization of the notes, right? So here in the first measure, we go to a G, fifth of the chord, really important. Then we have another interval with fifth, making the arpeggio, right? So these are important intervals to bring out. At the beginning, you also start piano. So I wonder if you'll start a little more piano, and then wait for your crescendo till you really get here to the end. Okay. Then a real strong forte there. Yeah. Try it. Good. So I think we need to hear a little bit more of. Will you exaggerate that for me once? Good, that was great. Now, can you start softer?
Yeah.
So here we complete, you know, it's really arched out, right? So we're coming back to the same thing as the beginning.
Right.
Really lovely. What's the difference between these two?
Which two?
Between when you come back the B to the C to the B to the C here. It's different.
Well, you're coming off a 5/7 chord. They're both 5/7.
Yeah,
well,
nice. That's
okay.
good. Yeah.
The dynamics.
The dynamics, right?
Yeah,
so let's make a clear delineation there. Why don't you start here, the forte? Connection to the high G too. Yeah, perfect. All right, so we're back in piano mode. Lots of arpeggiation here. Why don't we have you start here? Good. Can we match the piano you had at the beginning?
Sure.
Good, good. I hear a lot of evenness between the intervals, which I think is great. Okay, so when we get to this bar here, you see the most important notes are the notes that change, right?
Right, yeah.
So you're outlining a bit of a scale. Right, so here we're outlining D major-ish, here E minor, right, or E major. Okay. So would you just play these notes for me? Good, and use the piano crescendo. So that's the real important line that we need to bring out, right? You're doing a fine job of it. Just a little more emphasis. So the idea is that the lower note belongs to the next changing note versus the other way. Okay. Good. Really nice. How about just a little more crescendo so it makes the subito piano even more dramatic? Sorry, yeah. Good. I like the second time a little better. Did you hear anything differently between the two?
Yeah, maybe there's a little more of a crescendo in that second one.
Yeah, also in this one, the G's wanted to pop out a little bit too.
Okay, yeah.
That's right. Good. And once for me, just start on the G. D, G, D, G, D. Yeah. Dee da dee da. this is the first time we have a B flat
Right.
introduced, right? Okay, so we want to bring that out a little bit more. So when you're starting here. Okay, so I think this is really the apex of the phrase, and then it all comes down. Nice, good. I like what you did here between the G and the F. Why did you do that?
That's musical.
Yeah.
But it's
Musical.
it's also you're confirming the key. It's like
Yes.
it's like the 5-1 in the given key.
Exactly. So you're setting it up, right? You're letting us know as a listener that something's happening here that we need to pay attention to. Really nice, Rudy. Why don't you start here for me and keep going? I also like that you're starting with a different color here. I think that's really important because even though we have the same dynamic shape, same size of note, eighth notes to quarters, it's a different color, right? F's a different color key for us than C. So nice. I'm gonna have you start here one more time. When you get, actually, let's go down to here. So let me hear you do this piano. Stop on this F, and then we'll take a breath and start forte. Yeah, nice, good. And how are you fingering that high F?
I'll put the chromatic down just to keep the pitch up a little bit.
Oh, nice, okay. Yeah, I think that's the best fingering to use for sure. Okay, now let's put that all together. Okay? No stops in between.
G minor.
G minor,
yeah,
great key for us as well, right? All right, really nice on that section. So here, I think you have an opportunity to start setting up G minor a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, so
here we have the D, right, which is the fifth, right, or the dominant in G minor, right? So that would be a point for you to bring these out.
Yeah.
Okay, will you try that slowly for me and a little exaggerated, just like that?
You're going to start there or here?
Yeah, why don't you start here on the C? Yeah, lovely, Rudy. Really nice job. All right, so here, pardon my reach. Okay, so here, when you do this crescendo, I think it should be just a little more measured out. So what I would do is, over this event, I'm going to put 1.
Sure. Right, okay.
The louder you get, it's going to be 2, 3, 4, and then I think this is your goal, what we'll call 5.
Okay, yeah,
So,
you'll see that.
yeah. So if you go very slowly, ba-da-da, 2, ba-da-da, 3, ba-da-da, 4, ba-da-da, go.
Right.
Play that for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, go. Yeah, good. One more time and just stop when you get to the E flat. Hold it out, actually. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Yeah, nice. Okay, now put that all together, starting back here. So one of our trickier connections, right? The A flat to the B flat,
right.
back down to the A flat. So much can go wrong.
Sure.
Right? So what's the issue with that interval? I mean, what makes it so tricky for us?
Well, one is you're using fingers on two hands. I'm trying to get it smooth.
So at one time we have to move 3 fingers at a
Yeah,
time.
right.
Which is different than a lot of our
Sure.
intervals. Usually it's just 1 or 2, right? So this is 3 fingers all at once, and like you say, incorporating the other hand.
Right.
So some ways to work on that. The first thing I like to do, Rudy, is I'll play this whole section as written, but without the register key. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So-
All right.
Will you do that for me once there?
Oh.
So you'll start here,
Okay.
just no register key. Yeah, good. So start on the G. Good. Do that one more time. Yeah. At first, it's a little.
Yeah.
It's a different way of thinking, right? To do that
Yeah.
without the register key. Yeah. Sort of juggles your brain around. So. Do that same thing one more time, and this time let me hear the shape of the crescendo. We're already at forte, right? So maybe come down a little more before you go. Yeah.
Take it back up.
Nice.
Or-
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Go backwards. Good. Do that same thing one more time. Good. So that helped to even it out, right?
It evened it out.
Any ideas why that might have helped?
No, actually, no. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Okay. Well, I like to do this with all of my students, but I have them look at the register key,
Mhm.
okay? And I like to have a little meeting with the truth.
Sure.
Okay. The truth is that we don't play these notes in the higher octave,
Mhm.
right? The clarinet does.
Yeah,
by
essentially.
opening this
Sure,
key,
yeah,
right?
right, yeah.
And this key, when we open it, opens up a little hole, and that blows the 12th open, right? So I think a lot of the times we get stuck in, oh no, here comes the high notes. We're going to really have to hunker down, and they're
Sure.
going to squeak and all kinds of things, and we get a little tight. So I think this just reminds us that, in fact, it's the clarinet that plays the notes, not us in this
Yeah,
case,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
All right, so one more time,
Yeah.
without the register key,
Sure.
and then with. Good. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
The other big thing too is it helps you to keep your air going, you know? In the lower register, we're more likely to really vibrate and let all these notes really ring, right? And we want that same thing up top as well. So just a little strategy in any section where you have some difficulty in the intervals,
Right.
do the same kind of thing. Okay? All right, so we'll have you start here. Okay. Good. And where are you fingering this E flat here?
On the side.
On the side,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. So just something to think about. What I like to do is keep the motion all in one hand.
One hand,
So
sure.
I would play this still on the left. Would you just try that one, see what it feels like for you? Yeah, good. So I say, much like the issue we were dealing with here, why bring another hand in if we don't have to?
Sure.
Just food for thought. Now,
Yeah.
there are many issues that would affect this, right? Intonation
Oh, of
being
course,
one,
of course.
comfort,
Mhm.
you know, what you're used to, familiarity. So all things to think about. But I like to keep the motion in one hand. This
Sure.
is a me thing.
No, I think I
Yeah,
agree with you.
something to consider.
Right.
So with that in mind, you know, playing the way you want, one more time through here, and we'll go on a little bit more. Yeah, nice, really nice.
Okay.
I really like all your color changes; they're beautiful. So, one thing is, we see these.
Yeah, they need to back off a little.
Yeah. What would you call this? I mean, would you
Oh,
call
it's-
it a decrescendo?
Well, it's more of almost more of an accent in it, like an espressivo or something.
That's exactly what I would call it, as an espressivo, right?
Yeah.
So we get to the note, and then there's a bit of decay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what could that decay be for? I think it's to bring out the next note.
It sets up the next.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Next,
Okay.
yeah.
So if you can use the subdivision that I know you're using
Yeah,
and playing
yeah.
all three right here to come down on that note,
Sure.
move to the next one, and then we want to keep those all the same on all of these.
Sure.
Okay. Good. I really like this one.
Yeah.
I didn't hear much here. Now, there's not one written, of
Okay.
course, right?
Yeah, so
But
I can fix that.
yeah, right. Nice. So, but I think the general rule of thumb is, you know, you've had all this energy of the
Yeah.
notes moving forward, forward, forward. You finally have a spot to sort of let it settle.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, in the subdivision, here's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So start here one more time.
Oh, excuse me.
Good. And I think the same thing here too.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more.
A little bit
Okay.
more than what I did. Yeah. A little bit more time.
Yeah, why don't you start there? Yes. Nice. Yeah. You hear the difference there?
Yeah.
And again, just like you said, I think it really helps to offset what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So some food for thought. So I think, why don't we stop here on this one for now?
Sure,
And then we'll come back to this
All
in
right,
our
good.
next lesson.
Good.
All right, so what are we looking at now?
We're going to take a look at the first movement of the Brahms second sonata.
Brahms Second Sonata, Opus 120.
Mhm.
Well, what do you know anything about these sonatas? What do you know?
A
I'm
little
sure you
bit.
know a lot
Well,
about
he wrote
them.
them as a set. They're probably the next to last items he wrote in his career. Written for Rickard Mohlfield.
Yeah, yeah.
Specifically who premiered them at the time. So.
Right. I think one of the great things, especially about Opus 20, Opus 114 and beyond, is that Brahms actually took a couple-year hiatus, a de facto retirement
Yeah, he
from
came out of
composing
retirement
altogether.
to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah, right.
But he heard Mohlfield in concert and was so impressed by the beautiful way he played the clarinet. He wrote these for us, the trio first,
The trio,
the
yeah.
quintet,
Right.
and then these two sonatas. So I think this is one of those really special relationships in music history that we know about between a composer who's been directly affected by
Right.
clarinet players
Sure.
playing and written these lovely pieces for us that are
Absolutely.
staples in our repertoire.
Absolutely.
So gorgeous pieces. All right, let's hear it.
Here we go.
Yeah, I can tell you really, really like this piece. And that's so important too with things that we play, you know. Or the art of learning how to love something when we don't necessarily like it.
Right.
All right, so it starts on an F, right?
Yep.
Which my teacher used to say is the fulcrum point of the clarinet, the most perfect note on the clarinet.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's true, but He said a lot of things.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So let's just talk about the very first note. So important on this one, right? If you remember the first sonata, we don't start until about 4 measures in, right? So we're starting right from the get-go here. So we really have to make sure that we're ready for that note, okay? One thing I do, much like in the etude we discussed, is play especially this part without the register key. So when I play it, first thing I start off doing is can you try that for me once? Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
It's a different way of thinking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. It took me a long time to figure out how to do this, but I've been doing it for years. That's why I can do it so quickly now. Okay, so what did you notice on the first note that came out?
Well, it was smoother. It
was smoother, yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed that it came out a little quicker, and it may have surprised you a little bit because you decrescendoed right away. Okay.
Yeah.
So what this would tell me is that that F is in the exact same place. Again, we're just opening up this little tiny key that's going to play the note. So now what I'll have you do is this. Yeah, good. Now this time, Rudy, I felt like on your way to the F, you backed away a little bit. This time, give it even more. Let's just see where it puts it. Yeah. Did you hear the difference there? Okay. Do that same thing one more time. Beautiful. Okay, so now you remember where the F is, right? Okay, so start at the beginning now. Okay, play the B flat, just play it. One more time. Already for me, this is a totally different piece because you started off so securely with it. Okay? So this might be an effective exercise.
Yeah, I
just
agree,
to remind you, again, like I tell my younger students about the truth, right? That's the truth for us. All right, so in these next few bars, I know that these are eighth rests, so not terribly long, but I think Brahms really wanted that space. Again, like in the etude we talked about, to set up the next thing that's going to happen. Okay, so it's really important. Now, I like the effect you have of making each one a little bit more. That's perfect, and to me, very natural. Okay, but I think you should really go to these rests. Okay, just start here once. And then the goal is going to be with the rest to not let the tempo fall. Okay, so one thing I would do is try that for me. Good. And now without the rest? I'm sorry, without the subdivision. The only one that lags over a little bit is the C. Why do you think the C would lag over some?
I probably just love that.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's a beautiful note, right? It's a really nice note. So, and again, the idea is you're going to bring these out.
Sure.
Okay. Yatta. Yatta. So, te, te, te. Okay, good. So I really like your piano here. I think this should stay in the aesthetic of piano. Now, it's naturally going to get louder because we're going up in the tessitura, and these notes really speak well on the clarinet, right? Yeah. So do let it open up, but stay in the vein of piano. Nice. Okay. Now, also the the challenge with going up so high,
yeah,
is to get those to sound even, right? So a couple things you can do. First of all, I like the way you're organizing these 16ths, but I think just for stimulus variation, doing something a little differently, go to the D, ba, dee da, dee da, dee da, dee da, dee da. Try that once. Good. That helped to smooth it out a bit, right? Okay. So what note do you think is giving you the issue? There's a little connection issue, right? Where is it most likely to happen?
Well, the B flat to the D.
Yeah, good. Okay. I think that's the spot. I think you're having some issue going from the E to the G. Okay. So just play this for me very slowly. D da dee da. Dee. Ah, okay.
Yeah, I was using the fourth B flat.
You're using the one and one.
Yeah.
Okay.
In tempo, it seems to.
Yeah. What happens if we just play that on the right for me once?
Well, nothing.
Yeah. And again, it's a comfort thing and a feel thing. The only negative I can see with doing this is, of course, we have to make sure this is adjusted properly for it to come out, right?
Yeah,
and who knows what can happen depending on altitude, humidity, all different kinds of things, right? So just something for you to consider. Maybe trying the other side.
Let me try
okay.
getting back in tempo.
Okay. Like what side was that?
That side.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. It's a little more accessible for me, yeah. And the big thing is it helps you to smooth it out.
Right.
Now, the greater point here is that, if you're having issues like this between certain notes and you can finger it on a different side, I would just try it. Again, this idea of stimulus variation, doing something differently, oftentimes will help us to smooth it out. Now, another thing you can do is very slowly also play this without the register key.
Right.
Can you try that for me once? Really slowly. Take your time.
You want to go with
Nice. Yeah, totally different way of thinking, right?
Yep.
I think this might be something, really neat for you
I'm
to
gonna have to work
fool
on
around.
it,
Yeah,
yes.
and see what you think.
Get
Again,
your head around
stimulus
that.
variation,
Right.
okay? Reminding us of the truth that it's the same thing, we just open up this little tiny key, right?
Yep.
And it sort of takes away any complication for us, I think, because we're really ringing in the lower register. So, the other thing I was going to mention here, you can still finger this D normally when you're doing it without the register key.
Yes, right.
So no sound should come out.
Right.
Listen once. Okay, now if sound comes out, that means we're biting and we're really anticipating this note being a problem for us, right? So try one. Yeah! Okay, do that one more time. Good. Now play this in the octave. One more time without the register key. Good. And just play the D for me. Okay, I want you to do this again. Memorize what it feels like here, what it feels like here, how the horn's vibrating. Now with register key. Nice. Lovely. Okay, so now for me it's one voice, it's one clarinet. All the notes are following, nothing sticks out. It's very fluid. And that's what we want, especially in this super legato section, right? All right, so take it back to here for me. Yeah, really nice, Rudy. Tell me about this interval from the G to the B flat.
Well, it's a 6, but it's setting up G minor.
Yeah, that's great.
Right.
Tell me about the mechanics of the instrument going from that note to the B
Well, you're going to a throat tone. I'm not happy about that.
So we're starting on the G. Yeah, right? None of us are happy about that. Yeah, there you go. What'd you do there? It was different.
I made sure I got my finger up a little higher.
Oh, nice.
On the A key. Yeah.
I think you pushed a little more air too.
Okay.
That's the big point. So, you know, the issue is we're going from almost all the resistance we can have in the clarinet to practically nothing, right? So our inclination is to want to let up on the air.
Right.
Versus really going for it. Try it for me. Good. That was great. I like that better. So we've really just manipulated you to use a little more air, right? Now, same idea, but in this piano aesthetic. Yeah. Just try the interval. Da dee da. Good. So between the B flat and the A, do you hear any differences?
Yeah, I'd like the A to be a little more fuller, I think.
Yes, I think so too. So push a little more on your way to the A. Just see what happens. Ah, nice. Okay. Good. Last little touch here. Especially when you're playing these notes, really think about pushing them to the ground through the bell. Ah, good. Okay. I think what can happen to us sometimes when we're playing up here especially, we think about aiming the air up here versus still got to go down through the instrument. So one more time and go on this time. Try it one more time. Remember, you told us we're trying to set up G minor, right? So the most important thing is going to be the F sharp to the G, F sharp to the G. Good. And what I like to do when I'm doing triplets is give the second one more time. So that these two belong together, these two belong here, so that when you're playing it slowly, same thing one more time, Rudy, just piano. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, start here in tempo and let's go on. One more time. Okay, one thing, you know, this piece is really a duo between the piano and the clarinet. Some people say it's a piano sonata with a clarinet obbligato, right? But the big idea here is that you want to know absolutely when you have the melody, when the pianist has the melody, and when you two are passing it back and forth. So at the end of this here, the piano takes over. Be ba da da dee da 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 dee da 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 ba dee da dee ba dee da dee ba dee da dee ba dee da dee. Okay, so do keep that in mind. As beautiful as this is, it's not the melody. Okay, we're just passing it back and forth. So here, last time here, I'm sure. One more time. So I felt the B flat. Ba-dee-da-dee, ba-dee-da-dee. Yeah, great. So here, you really took over, didn't you? And gave this right to the piano. Okay? And then we're here. Yeah, lovely, Rudy. So we come to this part here. Okay, we've just come from playing eighth notes, then we have triplets, then we have 16ths, right? So the tempo is sort of naturally moving forward here because Brahms is in fact making the tempo faster. Okay, so I think Brahms's idea here was don't slow down. Okay, and he's building this into the piece. So make sure your tempo doesn't fall. Let's start here. Yeah, really nice, Rudy. So now that's just at tempo with its tempo framework.
Sure.
Now you can do your little ins and outs, but really try to keep it, as steady as you can.
Right.
So here one more time. Good. Conductors I've worked with call this idea the rule of three. When you have three events that are the same three times in a row, the third one should be a little bit more. Start here. 2, 3. And then you come back. Yeah, nice. Okay. When I'm practicing this, Rudy, I tend to have a metronome on a lot. Now,
Yes.
my tempo might be a little brighter than some other people's, but generally I want to have it around 104. Now, I say generally because the more, the faster a tempo for me, I feel like the more I can take away from the tempo as well. So that's sort of just the general go, anywhere between 100 and 104.
Okay.
So it says Allegro, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure, for sure.
So we really have to keep it Allegro. And oftentimes, I'm thinking this in a big two.
Yeah, it sort of feels back and forth
Yeah.
between 2 and 4.
Exactly. Okay, and so you have to know where those spots are, but also keeping the tempo at the same time, because 2 has a different feeling than 4. Right. Okay. So just some things to keep in mind.
Sure.
Now we'll continue to look at this at our next lessons. But do you have
betcha.
any questions?
No, that's fine, John. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.